What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ Buck, and look who it is. It's our old buddy Mike Mayock joining the show. Mike, how the heck are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Oh, come on, man! I'm so fired up about this today because we get to talk all the time, and I always felt like if we kind of take the conversations that we have and then just like record them, I think it would be fun content. Buck, I know like the three of us, when we've always had a chance to get together and talk offline, it's just good ball talk. So thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate you.
You know, it's funny. I run into Bucky in airports all the time, and I always get a kick out of it because I get to sit down next to somebody with a cup of coffee and talk ball. And it's the same thing. I mean, all three of us just love talking ball.
Before we get to ball, I want to touch on that coffee thing. Is Starbucks coffee is like the stuff you buy out in the world? Is it more powerful than these stupid little pods I'm drinking? Because I just been drinking these little what is it? Espresso, not Nespresso.
Nespresso.
Yeah. So I'm drinking those every day. I think it's just water because I had a real Starbucks today, and I feel like I've done cocaine. I feel like I'm off the walls right now.
So we don't want DJ, for the record, did you just confirm that you've used cocaine?
You could put sugar, salt, cocaine on the table, and I wouldn't be able to tell you which was any of the three. But I've seen movies, Mike. I watched Scarface.
Oh my gosh!
All right, hey, we want to jump into some football stuff here, starting with what's going to be an awesome game, Philly KC rematch of the Super Bowl. Mike, let's start there, and let's start Philly off of what we saw last year. A lot of new faces, but again, they get the job done against Dallas Week 1. What have you seen from them?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a 20-second synopsis of their offense, which is just my synopsis from 3 hours of watching their offensive tape. And you guys can react to that and disagree all you want. Point number one, their quarterback, Jalen Hurts, won the game for them. Okay. His legs, his ability to scramble. I mean, Dallas had back-to-back blitzes with a nickel and a corner, both of whom came free, neither of whom touched Jalen Hurts because he made a miss and made plays. And that happened all night long. Their offense wasn't real good the other night. Number one won the game. Number two, if you're going to be in 12 and 13 personnel, your tight ends better block better. Number three, their offensive line, which I love and give them props all the time, did not play particularly well. Osa Odigizulu, number 97 for Dallas, quick. He caused problems on the inside all night long. I didn't think Landon Dickerson moved particularly well.
Like straight up and down, Mike. Is he hurt?
Yeah, he's been hurt. He
can't bend.
They weren't sure if he was going to make the game. He didn't play well. Even the tackles, who rarely get criticized. Mailata had some struggles with the speed guys to the outside.
Fowler got him.
Lane Johnson got moved with the power guys on the other side. So when I look at that tape, I give the quarterback an A+, and I give the rest of the team about a C+ on offense.
Mike, I want to go back to the quarterback, right? Because I think the quarterback's evolution is one of the more remarkable things that I've ever seen in the draft process. Like thinking about Jalen Hurts and what he was at Alabama before he went to Oklahoma to what he's become now. Have you ever seen anything like that? And if you have, what is the secret sauce to Jalen Hurts that has made him outperform what we thought his draft ceiling would be?
I remember like it was yesterday interviewing him at the Combine for the 2020 draft with the Raiders. And I walked away, and you know how those meetings go. You don't get much time with the kids, right? It's hard to make an impression one way or the other. I came away going, wow. I mean, the adversity this kid has dealt with in his life, the way he handles it on an even keel, I think has permeated all the way through to today. If you watch his press conferences with the Eagles, it's all about just team and getting better every day. He's never real high. He's never real low. But when they need him, he plays his best football. I mean, I thought he played outstanding in both Super Bowls against Kansas City. And they got a lot of big name stars and Saquon Barkley and all these guys. But at the end of the day, he's the calm influence in the locker room. They believe in him. And Buck, I think we always knew about his legs. I think he's judicious with how he uses his legs. He knows when to get down. He's got a great feel for how many yards he can get and not take a big shot. And the thing that continues to improve, and I had some problems with it like halfway through the season a year ago, but his pocket mechanics and ability to get the ball out quickly, I was worried about a year ago. And I think he was so concerned about making turnovers, he held on to the ball. I think he's completely changed all that around. I just think the guy every day gets a little better. He understands what he's trying to do. He never gets beyond himself. I'm just thoroughly impressed, not only with the quarterback, but with the person.
That's a good way to put it, man. I was watching it and I was thinking, I agree with everything that you said there. A couple other things along with Hurts was, it's a combination of playing with some urgency. Like there's urgency where he's playing faster, to your point, like he's sped up a little bit. Yep. But he doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it's sped up on him at all. He kind of knows, like they leaked the tight end out on one. He's patient. When he needs to be patient, he sits, lets that stuff develop and gets it. But then he gets free runners and he can play with urgency without panic and then make something good happen there. It's just a poise. If you're trying to like sum it all up into one thing, I just go back to the guy's just got tremendous poise, man. And that to me is what stands out the most about what he's doing. But I was with you. I was watching that going, is Dickerson, maybe I just haven't paid as much attention to him because I thought the center played well. And that was one of the points I was going to bring up because I wanted to ask you about that because Jurgens coming out and it was easy to see this is their style of center. This is Kelsey, like the way that he plays, leverage and movement and all that stuff. I wanted to ask you about that. But while I was watching him, I'm like, God, Dickerson's just playing straight up and down. He looks so stiff. But the injury there makes sense, Mike.
He had a bunch of knee stuff coming out. We had a do not draft grade on him from our medical knee stuff. He also has a back stuff right now. It's something to keep an eye on. He's limited again, didn't practice yesterday. So losing Mekhi Becton, bringing a different guard in on the right side and Steen. There's some changes to that O-line, and it's going to be interesting to see where they go from here. Obviously, I think the thing they have that helps them as much or more than any team in the league is they have one of the best coaches, maybe in offensive line history, in Jeff Stoutland, and he'll figure it out.
Mike, I'm glad you brought up Jeff Stoutland because one thing that stood out to me last year when the Jaguars went to Philly to play, I had a chance to see the Eagles operate in pregame. And Mike, if you're a person who is in the ball, but if you've never seen the Philadelphia Eagles work out, it is a practice before a game.
Yep.
And when I mean a practice, there are what we call no burger eaters on that team. Everybody's working, everybody's getting ready. And if you're inactive, then you go put on your sweats and sideline. But you don't do that until you do put in a good day's work. Mike, have you ever seen anything like that? And if you got back in the league, would that be something that you would be all about when it came to telling your coaches, hey, this is how we get down?
Buck, it's a great point. And I've seen it. I've seen it a bunch of times. Game days, I've seen non-game days. When I go to an Eagle practice, I make sure I get out to the field early just to go watch Stout work with his guys. And, there's Lane Johnson, about 104 years old, and he's over there and they're working hard 25 minutes before practice even starts. It's just, Bucky, I think it's it's a point, like there are certain ways that what frustrates me a little bit about the NFL is there's certain ways to do things, right? Everybody wants to do it this way. I think Howie Roseman does it his way. I think Jeff Stoutland does it his way. I think the Eagles are always kind of pushing at the edges to find better ways to do things. And I think anybody that wants to, like their offensive line works up a froth in pregame.
They're ready to go. They're like a fighter sparring before a match. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, they're just they're not just leaning on each other. They're getting after each other. And so when that first snap comes, it's not like they're waiting to be hit. They've already been hit and they're good to go. They're really impressive. That's why I kind of brought up the O-line today with you guys on the overview of the game. You get a couple personnel changes. I was surprised the tackles had some bad reps. I also, I think, should give some credit to Dallas. I thought Dallas is probably better than I thought. I thought they played their tails off. And I think week 1 to week 2 is a chance to take a step back and go, okay, the bullets are real. We saw some things. Now we can fix them coming into week 2. You got Kansas City staring in your face, and that's a whole different conversation.
That's where I want to go, Mike. I want to kind of get to each side of the ball, when they're going to be facing each other. So we'll kind of bounce between the Eagles and the Chiefs. But on that last point, to wrap that up, it wasn't only Hurts who was able to have a couple Houdini escapes. Barkley was able, with some clean runners at him, to be able to turn 2-3 yard tackle for loss into 7-8 yard gains, which is some freaky stuff. Like if you played a game of tag in the NFL, Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley would be top 5 picks. I don't know. They don't get a hand on them. They got free lane, free run at them. But going over the Chiefs side of things, I watched the tape and then I went back and looked at all the analytics on it. And this is why, what is that phrase? Trust but verify. You see some numbers. You can't always just take the numbers for what they are. So watching that game live, I thought, and doing all these Charger games, these are some of the cleaner pockets that Justin Herbert's ever had the luxury of throwing from. The offensive line played great. Alt played great. He was a lockdown left tackle. The whole group played really, really well, and they used the tight ends smartly with Disley, who can block, and Matlock came in there and helped out both the backs. The Chargers sneakily have 2 big physical pass protecting backs now with Hampton as well as with Najee Harris. So that was my takeaway. Then I went and watched the tape and I'm like, yeah, they did play really well up front. Then I looked at the analytics. I said, the Chiefs, the only time they got to him, Tranquil had 2 sacks. It's when Spags had to get over aggressive and send bodies to get home because they're not getting there with 4. So then I go PFF Ultimate. I pull up 4-man rush and it's like 28 rushes and they had 14 pressures. And I'm like, there's no way on God's green earth there's 14 pressures. So I go back and watch those plays, and it's like, get to the top of your drop, hitch, nothing there. Herbert takes off to run, and maybe Karlaftis touches him on the way to a 3. And I'm like, so that's a pressure. So that's why it was a good lesson. Never just take those numbers for, face value there.
No, it's really intriguing because I do some work for Sumer Sports, where I grade, which is an analytically driven football company. Okay. I grade college kids. I do some NFL tape. So we have a whole bunch of former scouts putting grades in on players. But for instance, just to give you I'm amazed where this whole thing's going. Mm-hmm. Every NFL team has an analytics department that seems to double by size every year. Okay. Just from a helping coaches perspective, I had what they call the Sumer Brain, which is their AI piece. I posed a question to it and said, this is a couple weeks ago, use Tampa Bay's defense in the last 4 regular season games as your basis and draw up a scouting report based on what their fronts were, their coverages, break them out by percentage, and what kind of success, run versus pass at each level on first, second, and third downs, break all that out. And so I posed this long question to AI, which would have taken 2 quality control guys 2 16-hour days to do, right? You guys have all been there grinding that tape. 90 seconds later, it spits out every front, every coverage, all the percentages. Now, I don't know if it's all correct or not, because garbage in, garbage out. I don't know who put all the fronts and coverages stuff, because I don't know about you, but when I watch a film, I got to watch the tape back 5-6 times sometimes on some of these coverages, right? The quarter, half, quarters, how they plan it. Anyway, 90 seconds. So from a coach's perspective, if you have this at your fingertips, think about how more efficient you can be during a game week. You can download all that stuff immediately. It's just, but to your point, DJ, without kind of the human eye verifying the information, it's buyer beware is the way I look at it. And it's just kind of an adjunct to the other information that you have already.
Man, let's talk about the defense. The Eagles got younger, right? So Brandon Graham goes away. They trade away Huff, and so now they're relying on a bunch of young players. It's unfortunate that Jalen Carter decided to take himself out of the game by doing something silly and those things. But I kind of want to talk about that because when they turned over a bit of their roster, they did basically entrust some of the leadership responsibilities to one of their young best players in Jalen Carter. So one, coming out, do you think he's ready to be the point on the sword for the Eagles? And two, what do you think about that front line with all that youth and talent that they have along that front?
I think sometimes we put too much on young, talented players as, quote, leaders. And not everybody's a leader. Mm-hmm. And it's okay to be a great football player without being a leader. It's okay. But I think, there's all these silly sound bites I hear all the time, and Micah Parsons is going to bring along Lucas Van Ness. And like, Micah, do your job and everybody will be better. We're good. You're 26. You just got to a new team. I don't think Jalen Carter's a leader in a good way. I think Jalen Carter's a handful. Always has been, probably always will be, but his physical ability dwarfs everything else. Okay? So you called it. I mean, he did a dumb thing. And so my takeaway is he's still immature. It's not a leadership thing for him. And the second takeaway is that Ajomo and Davis both played close to 90% of the defensive snaps at defensive tackle. And that's unfair to them. And it was because of an unselfish act by Carter. So at the end of the day, Carter still has a lot of growing up to do, but that doesn't mean I don't think he's a great football player and is one of the top 3 or 4 interior players in this league.
So in everything right on. I'm curious to see this because when I watched this and I knew you were coming on, a lot of times we share with very similar take on players and what we enjoy, what we watch. So I have someone who's established themselves as my favorite player on this Eagles defense to watch. And I don't want to say any more. I've written it down. I wanted to see what you watched and just the style of which this guy. I'm a huge fan. So I'm curious to see, Mike, when you watch that tape, who is the Mike Mayock guy watching that tape?
Well, number 53 is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And even saying he's ridiculous, the play where he chased the guy down, the running back down in the third or fourth quarter from behind,
ran through his hip,
strip it and pull it. He caught he looked like he was shot out of a cannon, chases him down from behind. He's trying to rip it out. And that play set up the strip sack by Jahad Campbell, picked up by Quinyon Mitchell, the only turnover of the game. If Zach Bond doesn't chase that thing down, Eagles probably lose. I'm also a huge fan of this Cooper DeJean. He's probably the second most talented corner on their roster, but they like him so much at nickel. I don't think Vic wants to put him out wide. And I would also tell you, I'm not sure the answer out wide, other than Cooper DeJean, is on that roster.
Yeah.
Torrey Jackson got torched. I'm not sure they have an answer for
not Ja'Cory and Bennett either.
Bennett came in. He also had the Eagles had 7 defensive penalties of the 9. In addition to Jalen Carter, there were 3 defensive pass interference penalties. There was a dumb taunting penalty by Nolan Smith. There were 2 unnecessary roughness penalties. I mean, Vic's got to get that kind of reeled in. But DJ, we went off target there. Did I hit either of your guys? Nolan Smith.
This is my theory. This is my theory on Nolan Smith.
Yeah.
Nolan Smith, somebody told him you're 6'5", 285 pounds. And he just believes it because he plays so much bigger than he is. I could just watch him versus pullers. I wonder if you're like a guard and you're watching tape every week going like, do I really want to pull this week? This freaking 4-4 missile just wants to take my head off every time I go to try and pull him. And then he just pressure after he gets into pads. He must have had 5 or 6 bull pressures where just taking him right back to the quarterback. I'm like, this guy plays like he's 275, 280 pounds.
You know why he does? In all honesty, I'm sitting here in Philly keeping an eye on him every week.
Yeah.
Last year, he barely got in a game for the first 6, 7, 8 weeks of the season. You know the reason why? Vic Fangio called him out every week. Like, they get in a press conference, and every week the reporters would say, well, how come Nolan Smith isn't playing? He said until he stops the run, he's not getting on the field.
Yeah.
And so the reason he attacks the pullers the way he does, and he does it whether it's a tight end, whether it's a guard, it doesn't matter. Yeah. And he closes down he compresses those holes on the backside of that. It's unbelievable. So I think Nolan Smith is becoming one of the better edge guys in the league, run and pass. And I think it's his natural ability, his willingness to work, and this old curmudgeon by the name of Vic Fangio.
And Buck, this is where the numbers come into play, because I'm watching this and I'm like, he's dominating up front, but he doesn't have any like wins. He doesn't have a lot of production to go along with it. So then that's when, like, I love the win rate number, and you go look at it for week 1. I think he had like the 5th or 6th highest win rate. And I'm like, well, that's what he's doing. He's just beating the crap out of the guy over him every single snap. So I can appreciate that.
But I want to go back to the Vic Fangio thing, right? Because at a time when the league is getting younger, Mike, I want to lean into your experiences as a general manager and as a player. I still believe that old school works when it comes to coaching. So can you talk to me a little bit about Fangio's way and the positive impact it's had on their young defense?
Buck, here's what I've learned. I'm 67 years old now, and I've been around it my whole life. And here's what I've learned is that players very quickly figure out which coaches can help them become better players and help them become better teams on a quest for a Super Bowl. So they quickly figure it out. Can this guy help me or not? And if he can't help him, and it doesn't matter whether the guy's 32 or Vic's my age. He's like, we're the same. I think he's 67. I mean, if the 67-year-old can help you, they're all in. And what really helps Vic, and I think all these guys, is when you're honest with players, they might not always like it, but they respect it. And I think there's a tendency with too many coaches these days, and GMs, to be honest with you, to kind of sugarcoat things and say to a player, well, don't worry, just keep working. You'll play it. You're gonna play soon next week. Then the player goes, well, why didn't I play next week? And Vic looks him in the eye and said, what'd you do in practice on Thursday when that puller came out? Did you attack him? No, you're not playing. Mm-hmm. And Buck, I'm with you. I think there's an old school respect that really matters, even if you're 21 years old. And I think players figure it out real quickly.
I want to get back to Kansas City, Mike. We're talking a little bit about, to me, defensively with them, they got to figure out a way to get home without having to send a bunch of guys. Like, that's something to keep an eye on with them. But then flip it over to the offense. As someone who's a GM in that division, had to deal with them. It's a chore with Mahomes. Did you guys have like Jordan rules, Mahomes rules at all to try and slow them down?
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much, there was a focus, especially with the edge rushers, not to get up the field further than Mahomes' depth.
Yeah.
And that, that's a basic, but when you play any quarterback that can step up and go, like, the thing you hate the most with any quarterback, but especially Patrick Mahomes, is when he has the ability to step up either directly up into the pocket or directly on an angle inside that defensive end, because now he can threaten run pass immediately. It's not like he's running laterally away from the line of scrimmage. It's like he's stepping up, and now it's like, okay, what are your choices as a defense? You can defend these guys for 6 seconds perfectly, and he's still going to find Kelsey on some kind of weird route, right? So the Kelsey thing was really brutal, because trying to tell guys how to cover him is unbelievable, because their innate feel for each other is something like I've never seen. The routes they run are just, it's just they feel leverage and they both see it the same way. I think when I look at that team right now, I see a couple things on offense, like not a dynamic run team. We're not last year. Mm-hmm. Don't have a dynamic runner. I think they averaged 4 yards a carry last year, and that was 28th, 29th in the league, whatever. So run game is not dynamic. Hasn't been for a year plus a week. Pass game, when you lose Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, now you're fighting for pass game also. So is Kelsey the same guy? We're going to figure that out. It puts an awful lot of pressure and a revamped left side of the offensive line, which will continue to get better, but it puts an awful lot of pressure on the quarterback. And I think it did last year. And I'm not talking about, quote, external pressure. I'm just talking about pressure to produce. Right, Buck? I mean, if you don't have a dynamic run game and you're struggling to throw the ball, it comes down to your all-world quarterback to stand on his head and win games.
Look, it's funny because we talk about it being a quarterback-driven league, and it is, but the league is cyclical. And it's come back to where the running game is still important. The only way to get people out of these too high looks, you have to be able to run it and run it effectively. So, Mike, now that we're kind of talking about lack of a dynamic runner for Kansas City, where do we value running backs? DJ and I always have this conversation like, hey, if your team is ready to win, then you can invest in a running back. But if your team is not, you're almost wasting carries. How do you view the value of the running back position in today's game?
Real simply, when I took the Raiders job, the first clip of tape I took to Jon Gruden, and it was 2 days into being there, was 7 plays from Josh Jacobs at Alabama, because I knew what John liked in running backs, and I knew how he matched up. And so the way I look at the running back position in general, and I said this way before last year when running backs, started to get some accord. But if you're a difference maker at any position, I'm all in. I don't care if you're a guard. I don't care if you're an off-the-ball linebacker. And I certainly don't care if you're a running back. If you're, I do believe, which is what I think you guys are arguing about, I do believe that there's the supply and demand part of our league. At the running back position, there's more quality supply maybe than any other position, which is why they've been underpaid historically. You can always find a running back that's good enough. We found a running back off a practice squad one year, and he had 100 yards in the game for us the week later. I think it was Peyton Barber, if I remember. So you could always find a running back. But if he's special, why not take him in the first round? Why not pay Derrick Henry at age 30? If he's special, I'm all in. That's kind of the way I look at the running back position. I know you can get a bunch of guys at different times, but I'm all in on the special guy at every position.
Yeah, we were talking in that vein about the Seattle-San Francisco game last week, earlier in the week. And just if you just looked at the whole roster, you're like, man, Seattle's got a better roster. They're deeper, they're younger, they're faster. But San Francisco, even though their depth has been hit, with the losses over the years, they still had those 4-5 star players. And it was Christian McCaffrey on 4th down. It was Bosa finishing the game with a sack. So it's like, to me, you get away from the position thing. Just you got to have a handful of those blue level players, those big time impact guys. I want to take a little bit of a left turn here, Mike, because this came up in a conversation I had with a GM like 2 days ago, and I was just curious if you had any experience with this, or if you. I just want to get your thoughts on it. So we were talking about indicators and how like run pass indicators, and go back to when you and Bucky were playing. Used to be able to see, okay, how is you could find a lineman that's maybe got a tell, how is he setting? Is he setting light? All those different things. And what this GM had told me, he said, look, we got a lot of guys from premier programs, Georgia, Alabama, like big time programs, where they have these army of analysts that what they're doing is looking for these tells at a level that we've never seen before, with trained eyes knowing what to look for. And they joke around. They use the phrase, I don't know if you guys use it all. I talk about rabbits and birds, like if it's a run, it's a rabbit. If it's a pass, it's a bird. And it said these guys coming from some of these programs have gotten so good at that because of what they've been taught and learned that it's become a major advantage for them. And I thought, well, how many NFL teams, what kind of resources are they using? Because the colleges, it's unlimited what they're able to do.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really intriguing. I was a baseball player. And even in college, I remember if you're on second base, I used to love seeing what was going on with the catcher.
We're still in signs.
Oh, we're still in signs. And if you could figure it out, we used to have a system, left arm up, it was fastball, right arm, like you're taking a lead and you put the left arm out or the right arm out, men off speed.
Yeah.
And if you had a tell, it made things a hell of a lot easier as a hitter, which is no different than a left tackle against an edge rusher if there's a tell, right? So I have no doubt the colleges are doing that. I have not heard much about that at the NFL level.
I haven't either at the NFL level. That's why I was like, are they missing something there?
I think we probably there probably is some of the better coaches that have a quality control guy that sees something occasionally, but I don't think there's an army of guys working at it like the college guys.
Nah, but the funny thing is, like, you talk about an army of guys working at it. Old school football, that was always a big thing that was discussed in meeting rooms amongst players, where you talk about, hey, this guy sets light. Every time we look, this guy lines up here. He rubs his hands. It's high probability of a route coming his way. I think some of the gamesmanship has been lost a little bit in our league, and sometimes it happens when you have young players in it. But DJ, I don't know why a team wouldn't assign a handful of dudes to just kind of go through and look at the regular tape and the TV copy to see if they can just pull something that can help a player make a play, get a jump on something.
Buck, the TV copies are so good, especially the national games with all the cameras, that I kind of agree with that. I'd be surprised if there isn't more of that going forward.
Yeah, I mean, that to me is where I'm assigning my army of people. If I'm the NFL, I'm saying, hey, let's get that sound from the TV copy at the line of scrimmage and see if we can't pick something up that can help us.
No, there's definitely some of that. I can confirm there's definitely some of that with the coaching staffs as far as the audio from the TV copies and trying to pick up something. And the funny thing is with football is that you and I mean, it's funny when you hear offensive linemen.
Yeah,
you can go to any team in the league, guys. We've been at all 32 places, and you pretty much. What's Leo mean?
Yeah, left. Yeah,
we're sliding left.
Yeah,
what's Roger mean? We're sliding right. What does Lippy mean? We're sliding left. What does Rachel mean? We're sliding right.
Well, we forgot Rip and Liz, Mike. Don't forget Rip and Liz.
Liz is the most basic. I mean,
Ringo and Lucky.
Jon Gruden used to have on our wall in the team room, we used to have pictures up of all, like, he was the most creative offensive guy I think I've ever met. And he used to have checks that were bizarre. Like Cindy Gruden, which is his wife.
Yeah.
And I forget what it was, but it was a catchy one. Like, he said it in front of the team. Hey, Cindy Gruden, she's a blah, 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 blah chick. And everybody laughed and thought it was funny. But every time Derek Carr said Cindy Gruden, they knew what it meant.
What it was. Yeah.
And I remember one time he had like, who was it? It was like, I want to say Jackie Robinson or Luke, something. And because he was a right-handed hitter. And I'm like, Coach, none of these guys know Mickey Mantle and Jackie Robinson. You got to get a little, he would do the singers that he liked from the 70s. I'm like, Coach, you got to get into some of the pop. I mean, some of the culture from now, if you're going to use the, so Gruden was amazing. He really had a lot of creative ways to couch his terms, but It's an interesting question, guys.
Yeah, right. The right and left, Buck. Also, I don't remember where I was, but I remember one point in time they were trying to do cities. So it was left coast, West Coast, East Coast. And I remember it was saying Seattle, and it's one of the guys looking around like he couldn't tell you if Seattle was in Maine or if Seattle was on the left side of the country. Like, I probably should ditch that. Let's just go with the Ringo Lucky.
Know your personnel.
Complicated.
KYP. Know your personnel. Know your personnel.
All right, hey Mike, this has been awesome, man. Last thing before we let you run here, what have you been cooking on, man? I know everybody that you've got a massive amount of people that have followed you for so many years. By the way, thank you for taking that job with the Raiders. It was good for they paid for a lot of college tuition over at the Jeremiah house, so I appreciate that. Well, how the heck how have you been, and what have you been up to?
Oh, DJ.
Private school too, Mike. I appreciate that.
DJ, I'm happy to take all these bullets for you so that your kids could go to good schools. Very happy for you.
Oh, no, I get you a sweatshirt, maybe like a bumper sticker, Baylor dad. Just cross it out and say Baylor uncle.
Yeah, my wife calls the GM years the presidential years because she said I look 7 years older for every 1 year. Yeah. I was like, thanks, hon. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'll be doing some Westwood games. My schedule's typically back-ended. I get a couple playoff games. I'll do 6 or 7 games probably between Thanksgiving and divisional round of the playoffs. So that keeps me watching pro tape, which I like. I'm grading college kids for Sumer Sports, so that keeps me watching, the college tape. I watched that defensive tackle from Clemson yesterday, who's pretty freaking good. He easy. I forget his name.
Woods, right? Peter Woods,
something.
Yeah.
What's
Peter
that?
Woods. Peter Woods, right?
Woods.
Yeah. I mean, so the good thing for me is I like staying current, and I feel like I'm fairly current on both the NFL and the college stuff. So I like that. I like to be able to come on a show with you guys and not really know what you're going to ask me about. And if we want to talk about the Ravens game the other night, I can talk about it. If we're going to talk about the kid from Clemson, I can talk about it. I just like to be involved with guys like you. Both of you guys love ball and you do it the right way. And that's why I love to be able to talk ball with guys like you.
Yeah, normally, Buck, Mike sends me a text message of, hey, these are the 3 topics I'm comfortable with. They have to be on these 3 topics. I can't go beyond that. I don't know. There are people that do that, by the way. Mike is, it's like being out in the prairie. We can go wherever the heck we want, talk about whatever the heck we want. It's been fun.
Thank you, guys.
Mike, you're the best, buddy. I appreciate you, man. And we'll see you soon. How are we golfing, by the way? I'm getting worse. I'm finding out I'm getting worse with this whole sport.
Buck, are you a golfer?
I don't play well enough to become fanatical about it like DJ, but I do enjoy going out and knocking it around a little bit.
Yeah, it's a game that can get in your blood a little bit because I felt like every game I ever played I was pretty good at. And in golf I suck. And it drives me up a wall. Yeah,
he's been my therapist, Buck. Anytime I've probably not even lying, no less than 5 conversations leaving the golf course because Mike has been a good encouragement to me. And I'm like, I'm going to quit. This sucks. I stink. And he's like, just hang with it. Just hang with it.
Yeah.
Very, very encouraging.
Misery loves company.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Mike, you're the best, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thanks, fellas.